Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Big Chill Podcast. This is episode 657, Bellingham's Beautiful Bicycle. Chillians, welcome back to the Big Chill Podcast. I'm Frank, joined as always with Eddie. If Eddie sounds different, it's not because he has AirPods in, but because he's been on his deathbed for a month and a half, so just slowly climbing back into reality.
Yeah, you nearly had not as always joined by Eddie. This could have been you would have been solo. You could have invited Sam back, but no, it's true. I've had a rough couple of weeks here on the.
What would you have been more mad? Would you be more mad that I bring Sam back or that I replace you with someone else entirely?
Oh, I would be 100% replace me with someone else entirely.
As in less more in favor of that.
Yeah, that would be the move.
Okay.
I'm not. Me dying is not the door opening for Sam. I want to put that now. I want to put that in the public domain right now. That my death is not an excuse for Sam to return to the podcast. So. It's an official statement. I'll put it in my will. It will be an official decree. I will make sure. But yeah, no, it's been feeling good. But yeah, spent some time in hospital, rough couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we last saw you at Royal Ascot, but we did not really see much of you at Royal Ascot. So that was kind of the start of it. So it's been at least a few weeks now.
Yeah, didn't make it out of the hotel for the entire Royal Ascot experience. So never made it to Ascot. Never made it more than probably, I guess I went on some walks. I never made it more than about a kilometer from the hotel. And then, yeah, as soon as I got back to Paris, I was in hospital 24 hours later. Spent 5 days in hospital. So I had an infection in my pancreas, so I couldn't eat or drink. So I was just on IV fluids, nothing serious from a treatment perspective. But first time being in hospital in a long time, that was a bit of an experience. And yeah.
What was the smell like?
At first, it was pretty good. I mean, not good, but like it wasn't bad.
Clean, just a clean smell.
I never had a private room. So and over the course of my stay there, I had 3 different people in the room with me. Day one, old guy.
How close we talking?
Our beds were probably 3 meters apart with a little divider.
Okay, wow, that's actually kind of close.
It was a pretty decent sized room. You share a bathroom. The bathroom was okay. Day one, it was an old guy.
You're watching the Euros together. Are you able to high five each other?
No. So for starters,
okay.
Each one of us did have our own TV, but you do have to pay to get access to the television. And
what a move!
and no one paid for the TV. So, I was very thankful for, because the idea of like, they don't give you headphones, for example. So if the person I was in the room with had started watching TV, I was just going to be listening to whatever they were watching.
Do you have to pay for Wi-Fi?
No. Wi-Fi was actually decent.
Did they have Wi-Fi?
Yeah, they did. And so I had my laptop, so everything I watched, I just watched on my laptop with my headphones in. That was not disruptive. But yeah, 3 different people. Day one, old guy, never got out of bed, didn't really talk. He was perfect. Day 2 was he had surgery, and then he asked for a private room, and he got it. I also asked for a private room, never got it. I think I wasn't like sick enough for them to give me the private room. And then day 2 was a younger guy, probably in his mid-20s. He just got out of surgery. He never left his bed, and he was discharged the next morning, so he was also perfect. And then I got this other old guy, and this guy was my nightmare. He had lots of visitors. Problem number 1, lots of visitors. Problem number 2, he would get up at all times of the day to go to the bathroom, never close the door, and I think never got within 2 feet of the actual toilet. So just pissed and shat all over the floor every time.
What?
Yeah. I mean, when he was peeing, he was
Was
probably
the guy
getting,
blind?
no. And he was old, but he was not that sick. He just had like an upset stomach because I was just in like the gastro ward. So most of the people there, they actually didn't have anything too bad with them. It was like old people with upset stomachs where they were being a bit cautious and stuff. So he was okay, but he just never closed the door. Even guests in there, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you had a visitor. He would just get up, walk into the bathroom, door wide open, get like 2 feet away, whip it out, start peeing. 30% in the toilet, 40% all over the toilet, remainder just all over the floor. It was a nightmare. It was an
Oh my
absolute
God.
nightmare. Like
I
that
love the
was
idea. Is he staring at you as he's
no, no,
shitting
no.
on the floor?
He's
Is this
he's
a power
facing the
move?
he's facing the other way. He's facing the other way, but it was awful. No air conditioning, and it got pretty warm a couple days. It was like a little bit of a heat wave in Paris, so that was tough. Like the heat was tough, and the hospital bed was pretty uncomfortable. So the combination of uncomfortable bed plus heat meant sleeping was like at night was impossible. So
I mean, I can't imagine not having air conditioning in a hospital where you're supposed to like be getting better. How can
yeah,
you get better when you're just drenched in sweat and just sweating everything out and probably more dehydrated than the IV can handle? Like the whole purpose of being in a hospital is that like your body is more comfortable being there, right? Like that's insane.
especially for what I had, because whole reason they had me there was just recovery, rest and recovery. And so eventually, when I discharged myself, but I mean, kind of with not, they weren't unhappy with it. Like there was the morning when they said, "Look, you can eat food again," and I said, "Great, I'm gone then. Like this, I can now do on my own at home. If there's an issue, I'll come back." And they were fine with that, but then they have to do, the doctor has to come back in and tell you, like, look, in an ideal situation, we'd like you to stay for 1 or 2 more days. We just want you to know that it's you choosing to leave. It's not us telling you to leave. And I said, yeah, that's fine. And then she was like, well, because, the big focus is on you resting. And that's why we think this is the best place for you. I was like, today it's going to be 31 degrees, which means in this Celsius, this is. So I was like, that means in this room, it's going to be 35, 36 degrees. I am not going to rest in that condition. Anything you're giving me through the IV is not going to help me. It's just to help me fight off dehydration. So, like, I don't see the point of this. I can go home and be way more
And
comfortable.
I would say for the record, that's like 95 degrees Fahrenheit for
Yeah,
those wondering in the US
with
in a
zero,
hospital bed trying to
yeah,
get better.
with zero air circulation, with a guy pissing
Oh,
and shitting on the floor.
Furlong's nightmare.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was because that was the other thing. You couldn't even, because they're obviously worried about suicides and stuff. I was only on the second floor, but the window only opens about 3 centimeters. So you can't, I mean, it's just,
Is that a worry in the GI ward that people are going to get an upset stomach and just jump out the window?
to be fair, when the guy was shitting on the floor, if I could have thrown myself out the window, it would have been. And then, obviously all of this, and my French is good. I'm doing all of this in French, which I was kind of proud of, that they never had to break into English and I could explain everything I needed to. But they had this thing. They'd come in the morning and they give everyone the kind of same, like 5, 6 in the morning, they give everyone the same checkup, like blood pressure, oxygen level in your blood, temperature. Everyone gets the same measurement. And then they'd always ask you this question. And the first day I was there, they asked the question. It was a phrase I was not familiar with. And I said, I don't understand. And in response to me saying, I don't understand. So for context, what they were trying to ask me was like, had I gone to the bathroom? And so if you imagine being like a non-native English speaker, it's as if you're in a hospital and someone said, did you defecate? And being like, I don't know what that word means. And instead of with decency explaining it to me, they immediately spoke to me as if they were speaking to a child. And then they were the equivalent in English when then they went to me, did you go poo poo? And that was a low moment. That was like that was when I that was when I semi
That was rock
questioned,
bottom. That
not
was rock
quite,
bottom.
but it's when I was questioning slightly the level of care that I was receiving. But yeah, aside from that, it was pretty good.
Pretty good. Oh man, yeah. So it's been a rough few weeks for you. I mean, it's a shame because we don't really have much Ascot stories because of it. Because you were down, and then the second day, two other people decided to follow your lead and just be babies because they were slightly hungover. So we were a little down of the energy in Ascot. Vasilis tried to pick it up. I I don't have a great vast story, but I have to say it gives me great joy to see someone who sees the glass so overflowingly full in every situation when there isn't even a glass there half the time.
No, I mean you can pour the water directly on the ground, and he still thinks the glass is half full. I mean he's a real optimist, and it's a great energy and personality to have around, especially as it relates to girls being interested in him and those types of opportunities. I mean, there's there's not a woman in this world who he thinks he couldn't sway if he gave her the time of day. So no, but yeah, it's a shame we didn't get, obviously, bigger shame for me because it was sitting in a hotel room in a great deal of pain was not exactly how I imagined my Ascot going. But but yeah, it was disappointing also for the entire group not to just have kind of a little bit of an energy sapper, obviously.
Yeah.
Also, Euros
And I
related.
mean, go ahead.
Euros related, it meant that I watched all of England's group games confined to bed, basically, including one in hospital. So that was not ideal. And
Well, I
then
mean,
on
in
set,
fairness, I think England played three-quarters of them in bed.
I mean, well, maybe we put this as the positive. As I have recovered, maybe England are getting better. So I felt better and better over the course of the match on Sunday, and they got slightly better as it went on. So maybe my health is in direct proportion to how well England are going to play. In which case, things are either looking very bad for me or England are going to win the Euros.
Is it a coincidence that Eddie had his first bike ride, his first bicycle ride on Sunday right before the match? I don't
Uh,
know.
but now it's been, but I will say, thank God for the Euros during that period because at least, again, in hospital, it gave me something to watch twice a day, which was really nice, and a distraction, stuff to read. So that was one positive, even if the entertainment wasn't always free flowing. But yeah, I mean, we've just obviously wrapped up the last 16 of the Euros this evening. As just before we started recording, Turkey knocked out Austria, which was a little bit of a surprise in a round of like a last 16 round where there weren't really any shocks. You know, Italy going out to Switzerland was a little bit of a surprise, but based on how the two teams had played in the tournament, Switzerland had looked the better. England were
Yeah.
nearly shocked by Slovenia or Slovakia even. And then that was,
I was gonna say Portugal were almost shocked by Slovenia. That would have been the
yeah,
shocker.
yeah. Although that was a weird match, right? Because Portugal dominated, and although Slovenia did have a very good chance to score towards the end of extra time, Ronaldo missed a penalty, and then they just, I mean, that was the most dominant penalty shootout you'll ever see. To save
Unreal.
save all three and make all three, that's a rare outcome.
Yeah, that was pretty
So,
crazy.
should we start with England?
No, let's go quickly through the others, I think, and then
Okay.
let's save the bulk for England. So I'll pick some of the matches here. So I think the Portugal Slovenia match, you touched on. Portugal to me didn't look as good as they did in the group stage, but maybe they kind of just weren't fully thinking that this was going to be as tough as it was. But they're now matched up against France in the next round, who also haven't looked that great this entire tournament at a team that's, I think we're so used to seeing have so many chances and offensive production, have been pretty lackluster scoring. Mbappe's been pretty quiet, probably because of his face injury and his mask he's confined behind. I don't know, but a little worry on France and Portugal side. I think both should be a little worried going into this match.
Yeah, Portugal didn't look quite as good in this match, although they had periods of that match against Slovenia where they just absolutely dominated and looked inevitable that they were going to score, and then they just didn't, and obviously missed the penalty in extra time as well, which I loved. BBC aired in the post-match analysis. They do like to put puns and stuff up, and while they were showing the highlight of Cristiano Ronaldo's missed penalty, they put his name as Mistiano Pinaldo, which was somewhat amusing.
That's pretty good.
But yeah, Portugal still looked quite good, though. I thought they had a lot of, they had players who, Cancelo in particular, looked really, really good, and they have pace and they move the ball nicely and they have a lot of attacking threat. France just kind of look mediocre. You're right. Mbappe looks, whether it's the mask, whether it's other things, he doesn't look quite right. They've yet to score a goal from open play. They've scored 3 goals so far this tournament, 1 penalty, 2 own goals. So it's not like they're creating a ton of chances either. And, Belgium didn't offer a lot over the course of that match, but actually had a couple of okay chances to potentially snatch it. Particularly Kevin De Bruyne had the sort of chance you expect him to take towards the end of the match. I think Portugal could really present a big problem for France if they don't figure it out. The thing France have going for them, in terms of, I guess, some of the criticism we'll probably get onto with England later, is that you just feel like they have that pedigree. They don't, for all the talent they have, they actually, under Deschamps, they don't play beautiful football most of the time. This is sort of how they do it. They grind you down. They're efficient. They dominate possession. They take chances. And, you kind of got to give them the benefit of the doubt until they're knocked out, based on the fact that obviously they made it to the World Cup final not that long ago. They won a World Cup in 2018, so you're really giving them that benefit of the doubt. But so far, based on what we've seen from them in 4 matches, they do not look particularly great.
Yeah, no, I have not been very impressed. I think the 2 teams I've been most impressed with are the other 2 teams on that side of the bracket that we're matching up, and that'll be Spain, who beat Georgia really convincingly 4-1, and then Germany, who beat Denmark 2-0. And both of those teams look really good and look in form. And I think they look like the most, out of all the teams, the ones that seem like connected as a team the most. And I think we'll get to that when we get to England. They are playing well together and creating chances and moving the ball well together, defending well, and then turning that into offensive possessions and moving really well as a team. And both of them seem to be clicking really well right now. So I think that's obviously going to be the match of the tournament so far in terms of like where the teams are. Whether it actually ends up being a phenomenal match, we'll wait and see. But that's going to be a good one. I think that's Friday, that one.
Yeah, that's Friday. Yeah, no, I mean, those have been the 2 most impressive sides of the big teams so far. Germany against Denmark, they had periods where they looked kind of untouchable, especially in that opening 15 minutes where it looked like they could just overpower Denmark, and then Denmark found their feet and kind of came back into the match. And in the end, we're slightly unlucky. I mean, obviously the disallowed goal for offside, we're talking a centimeter. I understand they're complaining about it, but offside is offside. So, you can't really have too many complaints.
We're going to get to that towards the end of the podcast when we talk about some other stuff.
The penalty given against them, we've discussed the handball rules sort of pretty endlessly over the last few years. For me, that's not a penalty. He's too close to the ball. His hand is in a natural position. You can't just kick the ball against someone's hand and as a result win a penalty. I mean, not that that was the intent of the German player, but you're supposed to be allowed to put your arm in a natural position. That felt like it was a very natural position. He's within a meter. So I think the penalty was harsh. So, to have those 2 decisions go against them within the space of whatever that was, probably 2.5 minutes total, and also to have it be the same player, the defender who scored the goal and had it disallowed, also be the one who gave away the penalty. That was a little bit unfortunate, but yeah, Germany looked quite good. Spain are playing some really, really nice football. I still, with Spain, kind of don't know how well they'll stand up against a good team. So this is a big test for them. But no, it's definitely on paper the tie of the quarterfinals.
And then on the other side of the bracket, you have we just briefly mentioned Turkey beating Austria in the last match of the knockout that just ended in our real time as we're recording. I still don't really know how Turkey won that match. I mean, okay, I had Austria in my bet, and I was really hoping Austria would win. But I mean, you watch the entire match, and besides two nice headers off of set pieces, Turkey really didn't do that much. And Austria, I don't know how they didn't score more. So it's unfortunate for them. I think they were definitely the better team, but credit to Turkey to take advantage of the opportunities and a amazing save at the end there. I don't know if you watched
Yeah.
the very end of the match, but an amazing literal last second save to stop the tie and going into extra time. So that was impressive. So and they're going to be playing the Netherlands, who played earlier and looked pretty dominant against Romania, created a ton of chances, won 3-0 and probably could have won by more. And I think they actually look pretty good right now for coming out of, they were a third place team, right? I mean, coming out of
Yeah. No,
barely surviving to make it in, they look like they could be take a run here.
Yeah. No, the Netherlands had a kind of odd group stage, obviously, because it could have beaten France. So they got in a position where they could have won the group, and then they also could have been knocked out. They were kind of very fine margins in that group in the end. Um, you're right. Turkey, bit of a smash and grab job. A couple of nice set pieces that led to 2 goals. Maybe they had one other chance they could have really scored from, and then one late chance that was pretty good. But aside from that, I mean, they just defended for their lives. It was sort of impressive because they were all willing to just throw their bodies in front of everything. But
Yeah.
I think the argument for Austria is maybe they're a team that were built to play against almost better teams. They wanted to press, they wanted to hit you on the counter, and so putting them in a situation where the other team, the opposition, were sitting back, maybe wasn't ideal for them almost in the knockout stages. They could have probably done a bit better. Like if you look from the Netherlands perspective, I think they'll be relieved. They probably would have looked at Austria as quite a tough matchup for them in terms of how Austria set themselves up in play. Whereas there's obviously no gimmies in the quarterfinals of the Euros, but Turkey is probably as good as you could have hoped for at this stage. So, yeah, I mean, the Netherlands have looked quite good so far. But again, a little bit like Spain, and yes, they played France in the group stages. A little bit like Spain, I kind of have question marks surrounding them until I see them really get tested. They have so many weaknesses on paper within their team that I want to see them play a really good team at a critical moment before I can have confidence in them, which unfortunately can only really happen in the semi-final against England. Everything else, they wouldn't be tested until the final. So that's the weaker side of the draw that England and the Netherlands find themselves on. Again, on paper, that's with the utmost respect to Turkey and Switzerland, or no, will be no pushovers for either of those teams, but definitely easier than when you look at the other side with Spain, Germany, France, Portugal, and yeah, I mean, the Netherlands have got to feel pretty confident. They've played nice football. The Netherlands, Spain, and Germany, again, of the big teams, have probably played the nicest football so far. So if they can keep that going forward, they'll feel good about themselves.
Yeah, and then in the end, you have England over Slovakia 2-1, which we'll discuss, and then Switzerland, pretty dominant performance against Italy. I don't know if I'd call it dominant in the sense that Switzerland were that spectacular or that Italy were just that lackluster. Probably a little combo of both, I think, from watching it, but not a fluke by any means. I mean, they were the more deserving team to win that, and you know, in the end, won 2-0 and move on to play England now.
Yeah, no, it was impressive from Switzerland, but you're right, Italy were awful. So it's tough. Like Italy just didn't look like they deserved to be in the knockout stages of a major
No.
tournament. Switzerland did everything
I mean,
right.
they barely made it in, right? I mean,
Also
literally made it
true.
on the last kick of the match,
And probably now
which
are
I
wishing
witnessed
that,
at a bar in Italy.
yeah, and probably now wish they hadn't, as things turned out, because it would have been less disappointing in the end to get knocked out by Croatia than to have that abysmal performance against Switzerland in the knockout stages. But, Switzerland have pace, power, they press really, really well. So that's the concern for England, is that the thing that's caused England so much trouble so far is teams pressing and getting England trapped in their own half, and England look clueless as to how to move the ball up the field in those situations, and that's what leads to these meaningless, annoying sideways passes or eventually working their way back to Pickford. So Switzerland, in a sense, feel like they're built to cause England trouble based on what we've seen from England so far. But they're better than just that. They do have talent in their side as well. So if England play like they played against Slovakia, sorry, I'll make that mistake for the last time. If England play like they played against Slovakia, Switzerland will beat them. So that's the issue. They have to improve. But again, still, as much as we can say that, to be playing a quarterfinal against Switzerland, similar to the Netherlands situation, you have to be happy about it. Switzerland are good,
Yeah.
but they're not one of the best 8 teams in Europe. So you've lucked out from that perspective.
Yeah. So, moving on to England, I will pretty much ISO you. We can talk about the bad and then the good, because I think the good is very fun. I will start. I have my first kind of thing that's been bugging me is everyone I see will say England did not deserve that win that match. They were so outplayed the entire match. They were outplayed pretty badly in the first half. That second half, you cannot tell me Slovakia outplayed England. I don't think Slovakia even had the ball in the final third, the entire fucking second half. So like that part is annoying. And I get it. They had the lead. They sat back and just decided they were going to try and hold it out. And okay, that skews the statistics a little bit, but they had no performance in that second half. So I don't think England weren't deserving to win that. I just don't think they were anywhere near the caliber people expect England to be that would say, oh, yeah, they were the much better team like they should have been and they deserve to win that. So I think that kind of pisses me off a little bit because it is kind of annoying because I don't think they were that outplayed after the first half. Having said that, my stat I'll start you with, and then you can go off, is I saw today Phil Foden has more passes to Pickford than he does to Harry Kane this entire Euros tournament.
Okay. Well, I'll start with your first point and move on to your second. I agree with you. People have saying England were lucky, obviously, because when you score a goal in the 94th minute, there's a degree of luck involved because things have to go right at the very end. But they dominated that second half. They didn't create a ton out of it. They had the Foden disallowed goal where he shouldn't have been offside. Like he should stay level with the player who's going to play the pass. So that was his mistake. But they had the Foden disallowed goal. Harry Kane missed a good opportunity from a header. Then you have the goal. So I mean, they created 3+ good opportunities to score, and yeah, Slovakia did nothing in the second half. The draw was probably the fair result on the balance of play over 90 minutes. Slovakia can feel hard done by that. The reason that they ended up with a draw is a 94th minute bicycle kick, but that doesn't change the analysis of the 90 minutes. And then, yeah, in extra time, England get the early goal and then didn't do a lot with it either. But then Slovakia didn't do a ton. England sat back, tried to protect a lead. So, no, I think some of the criticism of England has been a bit overboard, but at the same time, it's understandable because they've been disappointing so far in the tournament. As for the second statistic, yeah, I mean, yes, it's a very revealing one. Harry Kane has been a little bit anonymous so far throughout the tournament. I think he's getting unfair criticism because he's been anonymous because of the way the rest of the team is playing. And that's meaning he has to drop into midfield. We've spoken about it in previous tournaments. It's what we see from him. He doesn't get the ball, so he drops deeper and deeper to try and get involved, which he actually does really well. But then the problem is there's no one else pushing forward. So you just have this compacted play where you can basically throw a blanket over every England player. And as a result of that, teams can press them really easily, and they can't move the ball forward. They can't create chances. That's then compounded by their inability to move the ball through the lines, so to go from defense to midfield when they're being pressed. And it leads to this sort of static football where you just watch like John Stones stand still on the ball for 5 seconds and then turn and just play a pass to Kyle Walker, who stands still on the ball for 5 seconds and then passes it back to John Stones, who eventually passes it back to Pickford, while Pickford loses his mind just screaming at people to push up. I mean, I got to give Pickford credit. There were like moments in that second half where Pickford was running 30 yards forward to try and get England to move forward as a team. And then
Literally
you just
pushing them.
and then you just had Pickford standing next to John Stones, in like a bizarre scenario. But it's a little strange because John Stones for Manchester City is so good at stepping up and moving the ball forward. And actually, England are probably missing Harry Maguire because that's the defender who has historically under Southgate done that for them. And so it's kind of not the role Stones has had to fill previously. But it's a concern. It's strange because all of these England players are used to playing against the press. All of these, and for their club teams, they get around it really easily. You have to do one of two things, and they do neither. You either have to move the ball quickly, they move it slowly. They're probably not helped by the quality of the pitches, which have been poor, so that there's bobbles, people slip. It doesn't make it easy to move the ball quickly, but still. Or occasionally,
the match we watched during Royal Ascot, that could have been the worst pitch I've ever seen in professional football.
They've been pretty.
They were kicking up like massive chunks.
Yeah, no, it's been pretty bad. You're seeing divots getting taken out. You're seeing players slip. You're seeing balls bobble a lot before people, like a player's about to strike the ball, and then all of it suddenly it bobbles, and he skies it over the bar, and it's easy to go like, what a terrible effort. But the reality is, he's expecting it to be 3 centimeters lower than it was. So, what's he going to do about it? It's true that if you're not, this is the tough thing for professional footballers. They're not used to playing on bad pitches. If you're used to playing on bad pitches, you just, instead of trying to wrap your foot around the ball, you can strike through it, keep your knee over it. You can kind of counteract the bobbling a bit. These players aren't used to doing that. But the thing England have to do then is either move the ball more quickly, which they're totally capable of doing, and occasionally you need a player to actually run a bit with the ball, move into space, get past one defender, because it's one attacking player pressing, because as soon as you get past one, you open up the pitch. And instead, they just move the ball slowly side to side, and they allow the press to come further and further and push them back. It's a very frustrating experience to watch. I think Southgate gets some of the blame. At the same time, these are great players. On the pitch, they should be able to handle this. Like, it's always one of those things in sports. You can blame coaches and managers to a degree, but at a certain moment in time, the people physically playing have to problem solve and improve things. Like, there's only so much a coach can do. I'm sure Southgate they're not going in at halftime and Southgate is going, more of the same, guys. Just keep the slow passing sideways. We'll tire them out eventually. Like, I'm sure those aren't the instructions. Whether or not he's being as adamant as he should be in terms of how they should switch. There's obviously frustrations over the lack of changes he's made to the starting 11 and the lack of substitutions he made. He is so lucky that they got that late goal because the fact that he brought Tony on with a minute and a half to go or whatever it was, like one of these pointless substitutions. Why are you even bothering? As it turned out, it helped change the game. And in the end, he got even luckier because by not making all 5 substitutions, by not ruining England's shape in a desperate attempt to chase the game, he actually left them in a position to win in extra time more easily. That's just good luck on his part. A degree of planning because he obviously felt like they were going to get that goal, but just lucky. And things have been pretty poor. It's hard to be optimistic. I will say this one thing. I know I like to rant about this England team. If you're watching England progress through a tournament and all you want to do is talk about how bad Southgate is and how bad England are, you need a reality check. And you do need to actually enjoy the fact that England are still in a tournament, still in with a chance of winning, are technically favourites to win because of the way this draw has worked out. They have the easiest path to the final of any of the pre-tournament favourites. There's enough time for the post-mortem once once they've been knocked out. But let's leave the post-mortem until they're actually dead and buried. There's a lot of people who want to carry out the negative analysis, get Southgate sacked, and ban a whole handful of England players from ever playing from England again before the tournament's even over. That a bit, I think we're going a bit overboard, but things need to improve, and hopefully ahead of the match against Switzerland, he will make at least some changes. He's obviously forced into one because Gay's suspended for the quarterfinal.
Yeah.
But center back hasn't really been the issue. But hopefully he makes a few other changes. Esse was really impressive when he came on. Cole Palmer's been good in the opportunities he's had. Hopefully he makes some changes that can get some of the attacking juices flowing for England.
I mean, the real question is, Eddie, who would have thought going into the Switzerland match that England's hopes might rest on the shoulders of Luke Shaw and Luke Shaw returning from injury?
Yeah, the left back issues.
If you told me who's the most important match player for England going into this tournament, Luke Shaw would not have been in my top 7. But right now, he could be the savior, I think, for this squad. At least, that seems to be what most people believe.
Not having a left-footed left back or a right-footed right back is a real issue. You can have inverted wingers. It's become super popular to actually have a player whose dominant foot is the opposite to what you traditionally, like historically left wingers left-footed, right wingers right-footed. But it's become very popular to have these inverted wingers who naturally cut in because that's become a popular style of play. That's okay with your attacking players. You can get around it. I still think it's nice to have a player who can hug a touchline and whip a cross in very well. But what you can't have is an inverted winger plus a fullback who can't run on the overlap and whip a cross in. Because basically what you're telling the opposition is there's no threat of a ball being played in from that side. And whatever is going to happen, you can build up play there, but the ball's always going to be passed into the middle or passed backwards. And so Trippier's a fine defender, and he's great from set pieces, but having him as a left back is a weakness. And the fact that we've got to this situation where Luke Shaw is barely fit, maybe will be fit enough to play on Saturday, but probably really isn't. And other than that, we have no natural left-footed left backs. I know England aren't overflowing with left-footed left back options, but we should have just picked someone from a Premier League or a Championship team who knows what their position is. Even if they're not as good, that's your job. I'd rather have the 20th best actual left back in the Premier League playing left back than the 6th best right back in the Premier League playing left back. Like, that doesn't work as well. So that's a squad selection issue. We'll see. I would rather just play Saka at left back. I know he said he doesn't want to, and that doesn't solve England's problem. He's played left back and left wing back for Arsenal like 200 times. Just put him there, and that will be better.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, Trippier, he has there's nothing. He hasn't done almost anything except get the ball and pass it back. 95% of his passes are just back. It's so frustrating to watch. Like, I'd rather put Saka back over there, and at least, I mean, they're both not natural to position. At least Saka's just a better player. Like, at least he's going to try and create more chances, and he's going to try and bring the ball forward more. Like, Trippier looks like he wants to get the ball and bring it back every time. And what's really fucking annoying is he stands there and screams for the ball all fucking match and then gets it and then just passes it back to Stones. Like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Unfortunately, because without a left foot, right, you don't have too many options. So that's his problem. Saka, like, England improved when they switched to Saka at left back. And I actually think this is where Southgate, when they said he'd only made one change when he brought Cole Palmer on, that was 2 changes. Because that was Saka switching to left back and Cole Palmer playing right wing. So it was one substitution, but it was a double change. So I do think the analysis there wasn't quite right. But they looked better, and then with Eze coming on, they gave them pace down the left. It gave them a bit more dynamism down the left. I'd like to see that same setup. I think it's a little annoying that Saka pre-Slovakia match said that him playing left back wouldn't solve England's problems. He's been anonymous in this tournament basically so far. and he was particularly anonymous as a right winger in that Slovakia match. At least Foden is like trying to get on the ball and do things. Saka's just kind of hugging the touchline and doing nothing. So it bothers me a little bit because Saka's one of his skills is his versatility. I understand he doesn't want to be a jack of all trades. He thinks of himself as a world class player. But if you're playing for England or playing for anyone and they think that you could help the team by playing in a different position, you'd want to hear a player say, I'll play wherever I'm needed. And so to come out and say, I don't think I'd solve any problems by me playing left back, I don't love that as messaging. But we'll see I don't think he'll play Saka at left back. I think we'll probably see Luke Shaw hobble along for 45 minutes and then get subbed off. But, it might be
and
better
then
than
Saka will go play left back.
and then probably Trippier will come on, or Trent Alexander-Arnold will play out of position. Something else will happen, but it probably will be better than what we've seen from Trippier so far.
Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned Foden, and I'm very high on Phil Foden, and he hasn't had the best tournament in terms of just things haven't gone right, but at least he's trying to press and to make plays and to make something. It just hasn't worked. Like he's had uncharacteristically some really bad passes and some bad plays and a few bad shots and attempts, but at least he's trying. At least he's trying to create offense. Like I can live with that. I can live with someone who just it's not clicking well right now, but at least they're putting in the effort to make something happen. I just can't stand watching, Saka hasn't done anything, nothing.
No, I mean all he has really is the assist for the Bellingham goal in the opening match against Serbia, and even that was a deflection, But Foden, he's been one of the few bright spots, even though he hasn't. You're right, the end product hasn't been there, but he's wanted the ball, which is already something to see a player actually wants it. Sometimes that's causing issues because he's drifting too much to try and get it. It's a little bit of the same thing with Kane, and we're getting too many England players in a similar position on the pitch, but he wants it. And occasionally you still see the Foden bit of magic there where he gets the ball, he moves it so quickly in his feet, he can turn around a man, he plays a quick pass. Like you do see those little glimpses. It hasn't really led to anything, but you're at least getting it. Ideally, I mean, I know I'm not alone. It's what everyone's calling for. I would like to see Bellingham shifted back to play alongside Rice and Foden to play in the 10 behind Kane. And then that frees up whoever you want to play on the left to play on the left. If I pick the England team for this match against Switzerland, it would be Rice and Foden alongside each other. Rice and Bellingham, Foden in the 10. Probably Etse on the left, Cole Palmer on the right, and Saka at left back. I think it would solve a lot of England's problems. It would give them pace. It would give them more attacking threat. I don't think he'll make that many changes. Because Southgate isn't the type of manager to blow things up, but it would be nice.
I mean, the fact that Trent's still not out there, I'm slightly shocked. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes back to Trent this match.
No,
he is not a man who likes to shake things up, Gareth Southgate.
No, I mean, and look, Maynard didn't really put a foot wrong. And he's actually also been he's actually at least tried to get things going at times in the match that he played and when he's starting against Slovakia and also in some of the kind of cameo performances he's had, he has at least tried to do things, move the ball forward, get some stuff going. But so he'd be the kind of unlucky exit if you did shift Bellingham back, because I don't think he's actually done much wrong. And I have to say this, Declan Rice hasn't been good either. This isn't me taking the opportunity to knock Arsenal, but the two most disappointing players for England so far for me have been Declan Rice and Saka. Rice hasn't done a ton. He hasn't protected them too much defensively, and he's not kind of facilitated them ball moving into the midfield and the attack. And Saka's just kind of stood on the wing doing nothing. So the two of them have not exactly impressed much, but hopefully they will if things go well for England, 3 remaining matches. If things go badly, 1.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough for him to do anything when 85% of England's possession is either Stones or Pickford.
No, I mean, yeah, that's true. It's the way England are playing. It's hard for anyone to look good. I mean, even Pickford, right? They're not even giving up. The other team aren't even having many shots on target. So even Pickford's not having the chance to look good. It's like one of those weird things. Like defensively, you can't even shine because they're still dominating possession. It's just they're not doing anything with it. So it's really everyone looks bad, which is quite impressive. Like it's quite the feat because usually, especially if considering they haven't lost a match yet, you'd think that someone, oh wow, what a defensive performance, what a great save. But in reality, it's like, yeah, you've all been fives and sixes, and that's not good enough.
Well, Eddie, let's move on to what was a definitive 10. And that is Jude Bellingham's bicycle kick in the 95th minute to save England and bring it into extra time. For me, again, so I was trying to think about this. I've been probably outright supporting England as a football club since, I was going to say, probably like 2013-ish, right? Like 13, 14, around there. That is the most significant goal I've ever seen in my short tenure as a supporter. The only thing that I think is still to be determined is how far England go, and then looking back on it and saying that kick won them the Euros, or put them into the finals, like, I think that's where then it becomes a little tricky as to how important it was. If they just lose next round to Switzerland, it's an amazing goal, but in the grand significance of England's history, it kind of gets a little lost when you lose in the next round of, in the quarterfinals. But I mean, we've talked all year about how clutch of a season he's having, and Real Madrid, whenever they were down or needed a goal, he always seemed to be the guy who did it. And to just do it again here on the biggest stage with just an amazing goal, nonetheless. Like, it wasn't like it was just like an okay goal and he was just clutch. It was unbelievable. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, so Jude Bellingham has scored 6 goals this season in second half stoppage time, injury time. Has four for Real Madrid, 2 for England. All 6 of those goals have either been equalizers or winning goals. So, he has that little bit of that gene that allows him to be in the right place at the right time and produce that moment of magic. It is arguably the greatest England goal ever, in terms of both context of knockout match, forcing extra time, combined with the quality of the goal itself, the skill of the overhead kick. You're right. The two things that hold it back, one is the yet to be seen, how far do England go? The second one is the context of it was Slovakia and they shouldn't be in that position. Like, unfortunately, that kind of does play in. If that had been France in the quarterfinals of the World Cup 18 months ago, you would have been like, wow, how does that happen? But Slovakia, last 16, you really shouldn't be expected to be in that position. It's when you're grading the goal, it does take a point off, probably. But
well, I mean, if you're comparing it to one of the other great ones, which would probably be like David Beckham's, right? Again, but that, like, similar situation, right? It's against Greece, and that's to get them into the World Cup, correct? Like, it's not, that wasn't a grand stage goal either.
In my lifetime, if I were to put greatest England goals, you'd have Paul Gascoigne Euro 96 against Scotland. That's in the group stage. That's in the group stages. So the significance diminished by that context. You'd have Joe Cole against Sweden. But that was, England ended up drawing that one all. I also think that was the group stages. It's a good goal, but again, the significance is reduced. So it's probably directly in terms of quality. Oh, and Michael Owen, 1998, Argentina. That's probably what he's kind of competing against. The downside of that is England lost that match in the end. but that was a fantastic
That is
goal. But
usually
yeah,
everyone's number one on every list.
but so that would be on the list too. The Beckham one, yes, but you're right. It's last qualifying, and also it is the Beckham one. It gets a bit lost. England that got England to qualify. Had they not scored that goal, they would have gone to the playoffs to qualify for the World Cup, and they probably would have qualified through the playoffs. Like like it kind of gets overlooked, and it's not as if it was we're either in or we're out. It was like we're either in or we're probably in through a more complicated path. So yeah, it's in terms of combination of skill, quality, significance, timing, you know, getting close to the last kick of the game. It's probably the greatest England goal of all time, but it will depend a bit on what's to come. It's probably goal of the tournament. I think it's probably going to win that. I think he'll be unlucky if someone else wins that based on, again, significance and skill, but you never know. But yeah, pretty incredible. I didn't think they were. I felt confident throughout the second half that the goal was coming. I did. I genuinely did. I thought it's going to happen. And then when he had the first Kyle Walker attempt at the long throw, I was like, oh God, this is what we got going. A guy who can barely get the long throw into the box. This is what we're hoping for. And then that got headed down. We got a second Kyle Walker long throw. I didn't have a lot of hope at that point. But yeah, a pretty wonderful moment. I mean, that's what you watch sports for, right? It's just the kind of get you out of your seat, pure emotional reaction to something. It was incredible.
Oh, that got me out of my seat. That was the most I've jumped off a couch in a very, very, very long time. And I will say, you are a man of superstition. And at halftime, I went into my hockey bag to get my hockey clothes to wash them before, because I had a hockey game after later in the day. And in the hockey bag, I saw I had like one of those old England bracelets. I forget the company that makes them, but I saw it, and I guess I had like I haven't worn it in a while, in like years, probably since World Cup. And I saw it, and I said, maybe this is the luck that England needs. So I took it and I put it on, and now it's two-sided. So I had the white side facing up, and about getting into like the 90th, 91st minute, I looked at it again. I said, this is not fucking lucky. Let me flip the color. And I flipped it to the England red. And that was, I think, when they took it was a corner, right? And then a throw in. It's when they were taking the corner. I think it was a corner, or it was a free kick. It was one or the other. It was either Foden took a corner or a free kick. I flipped it then. It didn't work then, but it worked within the minute when Kyle Walker threw that in. So I'm gonna have to wear that the rest of the tournament for every match now, on the England red side.
Yeah, I did my bit. I didn't brush my teeth. However, I did change position as frequently as possible. So I did what I could. I think I contributed just about as much as Saka over the course of that match. So there's that. But no, yeah, it was exciting, and unfortunately too. I mean, I'm happy about it. Extra time was a bit of an anticlimax. Obviously, they scored so quickly, and then just kind of sat back. Which, look, I've been critical of England for sitting back and trying to protect leads. I do understand it a bit in extra time, because you are dealing with 15-minute halves, and it is tempting then to just think, well, we only need to hold out another 8 minutes, and then it's the end of the first half. And Slovakia created one good chance in extra time. That one cross that they had the chance at the far post that could have easily gone in. Fortunately, from an England perspective, it didn't. But yeah, they're going to have to improve in every department to beat Switzerland, let alone to beat potentially the Netherlands, and then potentially France, Germany, Spain, or Portugal in a final. So things kind of can only get better from a performance standpoint, and things absolutely have to get better. So we'll see if they will.
So I guess moving on from there, we also have the Copa America going on, which, if you are just a big football lover in the U.S. right now, you've got matches at 9 a.m., or for me on the West Coast, you have matches at 9 a.m., noon, and then 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. So it is literally full days of football if you really wanted to. We don't really need to discuss much about the Copa America. It's kind of been tough to watch at points. But I just need to bring up the offside ruling in the Uruguay USA match because it is infuriating me. I watched this match. I went to a bar with a few buddies to watch the match. They were very unhappy when they found out if England and the US were to play in a World Cup final, I would 100% support England. They did not like that at all. They said my anti-American vibe has ruined the match for them. But we watched that live. So for those who aren't aware, USA played Uruguay and had to tie if the other match went to a tie, but the other match was likely going to be the other outcome of I forget whoever would win and would make USA have to win against Uruguay to move on from the group stage to the knockout round. So they basically had to win. And it was 0-0 from a lot of the match, and Uruguay had a header go in off a set piece that at first glance, it looked like the guy was offside. And the problem is the angle at whoever set up the cameras at the stadium, the angles were atrocious. Like there were comments all over X that the camera, the whole thing was just bad. But it was definitely, you could tell because you could see the goal line. It was definitely not a straight down the line view. So at first when you see it, you're like, oh, he's definitely offside. That's going to get overruled. They went to the VAR. After like 5 minutes, they called that he wasn't offside and the goal stood. They then showed the VAR line, and on the line, you can see he is not offside on the line. I then saw about 70 fucking posts of people being like, how is this not offside? How is this not off? Are you kidding me? What planet is this not? It's fucking not offside. The technology is much better than your naked eye seeing an image on Instagram. Like, I am so sick of people thinking what they see on a split screen, like stopping, like frame by frame, is going to be better than what the VAR technology has, where they can draw the line extremely accurate in the right way, taking into account the camera angles. Like, just shut the fuck up. Like, the computer knows better than you do. It is so annoying to have to see this criticism.
Yeah, yeah, it's one of those that does because the problem you have. So Copa America is using a form of technology. It's a little bit outdated for the offside compared to what you're getting in the Euros. So like in the Euros, they're using the semi-automated offside technology, or they call it like SOAT, and you're not using that in Copa America. I think that's in part due to the not having quite as many
It's
cameras is
yeah,
part of the issue.
it's a stadium issue, like a setup
But
issue.
so it does mean it's not 100%, like it's not, there's like a slight percentage difference in accuracy, and they give the benefit of the doubt to the attackers. But everyone knew that going in. It's not like they're getting surprised by the decision. So it's true that there's a small possibility that if you had the same level of technology, it could have been like the Denmark goal, where you would have been like, "Ooh, he's offside by his big toe," but you're not in that situation, and so it's off-putting because the angle they show you at is from behind, which just makes it look
Yeah.
as if the player is in front. They can't show you that level angle, which you would get in like the Euros. But
Anyone who is an avid horse race degenerate gambler would know that is not the real angle.
no, and
That
it's
angle
there.
will fuck you consistently.
Yeah, and every time you watch horse racing, and they'll always talk about like, oh, that angle favors the near side. Like they'll talk about that consistently, and then you get the level view. It's like, oh, it looks very different. So yeah, you're right. It's a little bit frustrating, but I mean, it's the way people work, right? It's the same. I know you wanted to have a discussion about offside and the Denmark goal. It's the same there. People can't just accept like that's the
Yeah.
technology. Whether or not you think the application of the technology is correct, whether or not you want to see a change in the offside law as to, well, the player should be fully in front or however you want it to be interpreted, this is the law right now and it's being correctly applied. Had the US scored that goal, I'm sure everyone would have thought it was onside. You know, it's just the nature of there's no Germans out there who think that Denmark were robbed by not having that goal not ruled out for offside. It's unfortunate. Do I think they gained an advantage? Do I think the Danish player's big toe gave them an advantage that helped them to score? I don't. But at the same time,
No,
where are you going
that's
to
the rule.
where are you going to arbitrarily start? Like the big toe is not offside, but a little bit beyond that is. Like how are
The
you going to
little
start?
toe is for sure.
Yeah. So it's unlucky, but again, and I know I've said this before, if you think you don't like VAR from an offside perspective, go and support a team like I do that plays in a league where you don't have that, and then watch your team miss out on the playoffs because of awful officiating decisions, and you might feel a little bit differently about VAR.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, and if you don't like VAR, then you would have been fucked anyway because the goal originally was called the goal. So
Yeah, no,
at least
that's a
in
good.
that situation.
In that situation, it would have stood without it. The Denmark one, I guess, they would have had the goal stand without the wall, but we don't really know because officials aren't putting their flags up in the same ways. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's the genie's out of the bottle when it comes to the VAR situation. So you just have to accept it. Sometimes you get the rub of the green, sometimes you don't. As it comes to offside, it can be annoying. I think there's large discussions to be had about how much it removes the excitement. I mean, like, thank God that like that Bellingham goal wasn't disallowed for some reason. For like some small hand, like the ball brushing a hand in the build-up or something. It would have been devastating.
Yeah.
That's the question: is like how much do we benefit from accuracy versus removing the enjoyment of the moment from sport? But still, realistically,
Yeah.
they got the right decisions in these instances.
Yeah. And I mean, the other bugaboo I have with this in a very similar context is you'll consistently hear on the broadcast, like Lukaku would already have 2 goals if it weren't for VAR. It's like, no, he wouldn't have because he was fucking offside. Like, he doesn't have the goal because he was offside. It doesn't have to do with VAR. It's not like he has them and then VAR removed them. Like, if he were 10 feet in front of the defender and scored, would you then say like, oh, he would have had that goal if he wasn't 10 feet offside? Like, no, it's the same fucking thing. Like, stop saying it. I can't stand those stupid sayings of like, oh yeah, he would have had this if it wasn't for VAR. No, he wouldn't have had it because it was an illegal play. That's why he doesn't have the goal, because it was fucking illegal. So just shut up. Like, I'm so sick of people trying to like tear apart VAR when it's actually a very accurate system, just trying to like follow the law that's set for the rules. Like, that's all it's doing.
No, and yeah, people's analysis is so influenced by whether or not the team or country they support just benefited or were sort of punished by the enforcement of those rules. It's like, oh, we should have been losing, but we got away with one there. VAR is great. Oh, we should have been winning, but they disallowed it. It was only a fraction of a centimeter. VAR sucks. Like, which I get. If England are knocked out and I thought they'd scored in the final minute and then it's gone, I probably won't love VAR either. But the reality is, as it relates to offside, it's binary and it's just enforcing it correctly. The handball and a host of other things, those are, there's a subjective element to them that makes it a bit more complicated. But it's binary. It's black or white. You're either offside or you're not. It's not really worth debating for the length of time that people put into it sometimes.
So I guess a sport we don't often talk about, but it is July 2nd. And we do our yearly, almost every year. We briefly mention the Nathan's hot dog eating contest, which will happen on July 4th, but will not be with Joey Chestnut, who was banned from competing because he's now sponsored by Impossible Foods, who makes vegan hot dogs. So Nathan's hot dogs just couldn't take that. They allowed him to be in like a documentary and do like a different eating competition against Kobayashi, but they just couldn't take him being sponsored by a non-meat hot dog. So he has been banned from the competition, which I don't know if you saw, Eddie, is really opening up because there's no clear-cut winner. There's Jeffrey Esper, who got second last year to Joey Chestnut. Chestnut ate 62 hot dogs. This fucking loser only ate 49. So he was 13 hot dogs away. So a big drop here. And then the next guy is James Webb, who he had 47 hot dogs. So only 2 behind the guy in second. So a much closer gap there between second and third. So they are your 2 favorites. I'm going to give you, Eddie, a statistic about each of them, and you tell me which one is more impressive that would make you want to bet for that person. So Jeffrey Esper, again, who was in second place last year, in 8 minutes, he ate 9.75 pounds of Spam. Okay.
Noted. Yeah.
James Webb, in 8 minutes, he devoured 350 donut holes. Which one is more impressive to you? The 8 minutes of 350 donut holes or 9.75 pounds of Spam?
It's definitely the Spam. I know there are people out there who love Spam, particularly Hawaiians, right? It's a bit of a delicacy there. But the reality is that just plowing your way through Spam, I think, takes a lot more dedication than enjoying some donut holes. Like, out of the 2 of those, I know I could do the donut holes way before I could do the Spam. I don't think I could do either. But I could get closer to the donut holes, I'm assuming. So, yeah, the Spam, yeah. I'm also going to, one thing I'd like to know about the Spam, like, is this him just, like, scooping it out of a tin of Spam? Or is this, does it get
Eddie, you don't want to see it.
Is it cooked?
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, it's just tough. This is not, that's an automatic no-go for me. Any other sporting topics or sporting adjacent, I guess, when it comes to the Nathan hot dogs eating contest topics to cover?
Wow, shots fired on the validity of hot dog eating as a sport.
Yeah, I'm not sure it is.
Is it a hobby? I don't think it's even considered to be a hobby. It's not something people just do, like they go to a bar and just try and eat as many hot dogs as they can.
I think we are in a group chat where we have proof to the contrary there.
That's not a hobby. That's just a lifestyle for that person.
Yeah. So I think it's a passion project. But yeah, the biggest disappointment, well, not the biggest disappointment, one of the disappointments. Obviously, I've been so looking forward to going to see Horizon, and
talk about passion projects.
Yeah, my issue means I've not been able to make it to the movies yet. So I would have been there opening day, cowboy hat on, ready to get them.
God, that would have been so good to see you in a cowboy hat in a Parisian theater.
I promise you, when I go to see Horizon, I'll go with my cowboy hat on, and
I love it.
Make it impossible for the person sitting behind me to watch the movie. I will not take it off.
Excellent.
But yeah.
So I mean, you were in a hospital for 5 days. Did you watch anything? Did you like binge an entire show or anything?
So I read. That was part of it. I watched, obviously, the Euros. That was a big part. And the other thing that I kind of got into down my weird YouTube rabbit holes that I go down.
Oh God.
I started watching Pawn Stars, like the most valuable objects that had ever come up. So I probably have watched 7 or 8 hours worth of Pawn Stars clips, which
I love how you're really trying to make sure you emphasize the AW in that word.
It's tough with my accent, so it's not easy. But yeah, no, I not a show that I've ever like really been into. It's one of those things I've definitely seen episodes of because it was like on TV, and you just like, I've been in hotels and watched episodes, or like nothing to watch and you throw an episode on. So watching all of the most valuable finds of all time, or like the biggest estimates from an expert. I was just consuming those. I know it's fake
I've been there
before
a few
people
times.
react. Yeah, on the show.
Yeah, yeah. I've been to the place a few times.
But yeah, I know it's all fake. I know it's a setup. I know that the people already know the items they're going to bring in. They're not just walking off the street. I don't need people to message me and tell me that. That wasn't why I was enjoying it, but it's still kind of like mildly amusing.
Well, I think what's interesting is I know some of them are like very set up, where probably someone calls and says, "Hey, I have this thing. Can I get on the show?" And they're like, "Yeah, okay." But I'm sure there are a lot of them where it's a person walks in and then they go like, "Oh, that's actually pretty interesting. All right, we're gonna redo this now. So pretend this never happened, and like come back next week and re-walk in, and we're gonna film it." Like that's gonna be kind of weird because some of these people who are on there are like a little off to begin with, and I almost don't even trust that they'd be able to do that.
No, you're right, because as part of my viewing, I got into some like subreddits with people talking about their experience going on the show. And so some of them are like, yeah, I brought an item in and then they told me come back 4 weeks from now for an episode and film it.
Yeah.
Some of them, it was people like, I contacted the production team and said I had this one item and they told me to come. The interesting thing is people are like, they don't pay for you to go on the show. So one guy telling his story was like, I live in New York and I had to fly to Las Vegas and stay in a hotel and they don't pay for any of that. And then you also don't
Well,
know if
he
you're
didn't
going
have to be on the show.
to. No, he
You
didn't.
know, like
No, he did, Frank. Based on the way he told his story, he absolutely did. Because
the
part of his
world needed him on the show.
because part of his story was then they gave him an offer he wasn't happy with, but he felt like if he didn't sell it, he was less likely to actually make the TV show. So he sold it. So like he knew he wasn't happy with it, but it was like, if I don't sell it, I'm not on. So, and yeah. And then obviously too, there's the other host of people who like have no intention of selling what they're bringing on. It's just a way of, hey, I have Jimi Hendrix guitar and I'm going to have it out for auction 6 months from now. And this is a way for me to get a bit more attention for the item that I own so that people know it exists. So I'll just go on. I'll say I want $800,000. They'll offer me $200,000. I'll say 780, and then I'll leave. Like, there's no intention there to actually. It's like the people who go on Shark Tank with no intention of raising money, but just see it as like
Yeah.
free advertising.
Yeah. I do like that Mark Cuban will call them out pretty frequently on that.
But what bothers me
Sometimes
about it,
they get
if
yelled
you're
at.
gonna call them out, then don't put them on the show.
Kick them out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just be like, we're not going to air this. You have no intention of raising money. You've just asked for like $7 million for 0.5% of your company that has no revenue. Like, we're not going to put you on the show. But instead, they put you on the show so Mark Cuban can look really angry and be like, it's like, oh, you got a telling off. But you did get 6 minutes of commercial on network television.
And look at that. Mark Cuban actually has stake in the company.
Yeah. Co-founder. But yeah.
So the big show, Eddie, House of the Dragon, has returned.
Not seen a second of it.
Are you caught up yet?
I've not seen any of it.
Oh, boy.
I will get caught up quickly by
Okay.
this time.
So
By this,
3 episodes have aired.
yeah.
Let's say by episode 4, then you'll be caught up so we can discuss.
When does it air?
Sundays.
Episode 5, I'll be caught up. Prior to episode 5. So
Okay.
before episode before episode 5
Yes.
airs, I will have seen the first 4. I'll make that promise.
Yes. Perfect. Okay. I won't say anything. I'll let you go in blind. I won't give you my opinion on the season.
I'm expecting. Oh, people have said it's better than season 1. I have seen that.
Yeah, that's all I'll say. Is I think it's definitely better than season 1.
But then neither of us really love season 1, so that's not exactly getting me too excited. But yeah, I've seen that, and hey, I think there are more dragons too. That's a big positive for me. Love just as
Love
many
those
dragons, as many dragons as possible, please.
So anything else?
I don't think so. I think that's just about it.
All right. Well, it's good to see you out of a hospital bed.
It's good to be out of a hospital bed.
And yeah, hopefully we'll be back to our normal recording schedule.
Should be, yeah.
All right. Sounds good. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah, see ya.
Cheerio.